Calling the Marvel Cinematic Universe an empire would not really be an understatement, especially now they've managed to expand onto television series. These series not only help fans get a more detailed look into the lives of superheroes, but they also manage to make big money. And the latest addition to MCU's growing list of Disney Plus exclusives is planned to be Ms.Marvel, a trailer which was just released. Let's go through it, shall we? Firstly, what do we already know? Okay, let's get straight into it. In the comics, the title of Ms.Marvel is held by Kamala Khan, an American Pakistani Muslim teenager living in New Jersey. The comic introducing her was a Captain Marvel comic, but due to popular demand, she got a whole series in 2014. This makes her MCU's first on-screen Muslim superhero. The teenager is apparently a Marvelous student, an active gamer, and pretty obsessed with Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson in the MCU, to the extent where she writes fan fiction about her. Despite her great academic performance, Kamala struggles to fit in, both at home and school. Due to an accident, Kamala Khan gains shape-shifting powers. Think Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four, or Elastigirl from The Incredibles. That plus super strength and speed. Of course, she's a little overpowered in the comics, as most superheroes are, so it's very likely that the MCU tweaks her set of powers a bit so they make more sense according to the story's context. Her story is interlinked with Captain Marvel's throughout the comics, and it's undeniable that she will play a part in Captain Marvel 2, The Marvels. The show may act as a prequel for Captain Marvel and establish Kamala as a true superhero coming into her own. We've seen Marvel using TV series as intricate setups for bigger underlying plots in both Loki and WandaVision. The character will be portrayed by Iman Vellani, and the show is set to release in late 2021 or early 2022 due to delayed filming caused by COVID. Now, the teaser trailer. Okay, now that we're all caught up, let's talk about newly released content. We know the cast of the show is filled with impressive actors, and the directorial team is also pretty diverse in an attempt to accurately capturing an American Pakistani teenager's experience on screen. This new teaser trailer, released by Marvel on Disney Plus Day, 12th of November, though, is more of a teaser than an insight into the making of process of the exclusive series, like the trailer we got last year. The brief teaser, only about 26 seconds long, establishes a few things already, like how Kamala getting her powers was not a calculated move, but an accident. Last year, Disney realized the Sizzle, and this is the first time we hear interactions between characters. The trailer begins with a small clip of Iman's Kamala Khan staring at a projected Captain Marvel exhibit, admiringly. This establishes her adoration for the Avenger immediately. The scene quickly changes to a character saying, "Let's talk about you." Then a cut and the new scene begins seemingly with Kamala opening what appears to be a dusty wooden crate in a mustard sweater. Before long, the scene changes again into Kamala wearing a cultural-specific pink attire as she holds a black mask in her hands and looks at it pensively. Interestingly enough, the next scene depicts Kamala trapped in some sort of energy field and gazing towards the camera helplessly, where she seems to be wearing a replica Captain Marvel costume. The lighting is too dark to be sure of anything though. The next shot is of Kamala out with her friend, completing the quote that's been playing as the voiceover this whole time. The quote goes, "It's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who saved the world." The scene that shifts to an overhead kind of shot depicting a bunch of people praying in a mosque. The scene after this cut showcases Kamala looking at herself in what appears to be her homemade Captain Marvel costume. At the same time, her friend's voice echoes back saying, "Maybe now they do." The next shot is of a door blowing up and four silhouettes clad in smoke show up. Then we can see Kamala on top of a building roof with her friend, Bruno Corelli, this time with a DIY headpiece completing her look. On the roof, she unconvincingly says, "I got this, right?" Whilst Bruno replies, equally as unconvincingly with a "totally." The last shot we see before the teaser comes to a close is of a bunch of people looking off above, as a mirrored reflection shows a figure in red and blue moving about, seemingly in midair. Now let's talk about Ms. Marvel's role in the MCU. After Black Widow and Iron Man's death, Steve's time travel, and how the blip left all of our heroes somewhat traumatized and disbanded in Avengers Endgame, so did all the hope for a reunion of the original Avengers. But even with all these superheroes who haven't been a part of the MCU for that long, there might be a need for the recreation of Earth's best defenders, for the threats will get scarier and the stakes larger. In the comics, younger superheroes were often grouped into a group called Young Avengers, and it seems as though the MCU will follow this lead. But even if Kamala as Ms. Marvel doesn't join the Young Avengers, which is still an incomplete concept, she is confirmed to be a part of Captain Marvel 2, with Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers. Next, Ms. Marvel's original superpowers. As it turns out, the MCU is making a mildly huge change when it comes to Ms. Marvel's superpowers. As we mentioned in the comics, Kamala's set of superpowers include embiggening her limbs, which is just another word for elongation. She got these powers from a transformation process known as the Terrigenesis, which can cause mutant changes to occur in one's DNA as a result of the Kree experiments. The most common way she employs her superpowers in the comics is by enlarging her fist and smacking her opponents with tremendous force. Of course, there is way more to her inhuman powers than just limb extension. For example, she can enlarge her whole body, kind of like Ant-Man's suits are capable of doing. She is also able to morph all parts of her body to appear different, not unlike shapeshifting. She also has a rapid healing factor. The MCU changes in her superpowers. Although if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that this set of powers is shared by another major Marvel character, one that's on its way to reinvention by the MCU. It is, as we mentioned above, Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four. In the promotional art of Ms. Marvel by the MCU, there's quite a difference to her usual animation. This is because instead of her actual fist protruding into a large fist, it's a purple translucent hologram extending from her limb. In fact, even the way she gets her superpowers is different from from the comics, as the trailer showed her walking into a purple energy field of sorts. The projected fist, though, raises questions about her superpowers and how detached from her original lore they may be. The MCU may be ditching the original lore of Ms. Marvel so that the reveal for Mr. Fantastic, whenever it may be, retains its originality. Or there could be a completely different reason. MCU may be ditching her original backstory in favor of giving her superpowers that originate from a tech-based background. Either her powers in the miniseries are energy-based, or they, as it has been speculated before, are generated by the Negabands. Negabands are an accessory that Captain Marvel prefers, so it's very likely that Marvel just ditched her old powers for a newer, more updated look that might fit the aesthetic of the Captain Marvel universe better. It is also speculated that Ms. Marvel may share superpowers that, in the past, the Green Lantern has possessed. Whether this means she still possesses her healing abilities, no one can say until we have more information. It's also possible that her powers are entirely dependent on alien tech. Lastly, let's cover Disney Plus shows and their relevance. This is not the first time that Marvel has tried employing TV series to perhaps hook more viewers. Shows like Agent Carter, which continues Peggy's arc after Steve's death in the 40s, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tried to keep the story going, but fizzled out quickly. There are other shows on Netflix that are based on characters from the Marvel comics, but none have felt as relevant as the Marvel miniseries do. Perhaps it's because they star real Avengers, or that their miniseries meant to last one season with expectations, or perhaps they just have much more impressive budget. Either way, the Disney Plus shows have proved how much Marvel fans crave serialized and linear story structures that may span out over episodes. There's no telling how long the reign that the MCU currently possesses may last, but it's definitely impressive to see them pumping out multiple shows and movies with big budgets out every single year, with little to no effect on quality. And that's all for this video. Thank you for watching.